Hey folks, today it's a rainy day outside, so I thought we'd stay indoors and play with Mayhem. I'm going to go through a number of toys that I've bought and some that I've made, and tell you about them. So to start off, we've made this little box with holes in the top. It's got a ping pong ball inside. It's made with spare 2x4s and plywood. Drilled out holes with a hole saw, glued on a spare piece of carpet, and this is a somewhat interesting toy. She doesn't play with it a lot anymore. She used to as a kitten, but apparently I have a ping pong ball that you can reach in and bat. Works a little better, or it can work a little better with like a mouse that you can reach in and grab. She sits on top of it sometimes. Not too interested with it today. And I've made my first one I made with a piece of box, same thing, holes cut with a hole saw. I have been trying to come up a way of making kind of a whack-a-mole thing where it's a lever. But, you know, I have the concept of a lever and then having a mouse or something on there, so you lift it up. Kind of an interactive toy. The next, we'll go to a professional made. This is the Easyology Roller Cat Toy. And she really hasn't had any interest in that. You know, these things go around. It looks like a neat toy, but for whatever reason, she just was never interested in it. Never played with it by herself. Did you? Not sure why. Maybe a little small, maybe intended for a kitten. This is the Turbo Scratcher. And I will have links to Amazon versions of these toys, either the toy itself or an equivalent, in case you want to purchase any of them. This one she does play with quite a bit. She's more interested when you don't have the real ball that's inside. She's not going to play with it now. This one is, I had misplaced this for a while, and so I was putting in ping pong balls or practice golf balls, and I think the appeal is that they will come out fairly easily, so then she can chase around the room. At some point you're going to have to play with this. You're going to have to play with toys. She's been playing with these as I've been setting them out. She hasn't played with it so much once I found this ball again, because it snaps in and it won't come out at all. I do have a similar toy. This is real old and there's no logo or anything on it. There's actually a ball that's here, so the whole thing wobbled and wasn't very attractive. Something I bought quite a long ago for my first cats. And it doesn't really spin too well when it's right on the floor like this. So this is the Zines rotating butterfly toy. And you've noticed I've put an aftermarket add-on to it. Basically the plastic toy here is very light, and quite often I'd find it upside down, which puts stress on the wire here and eventually broke off. So I'm going to put a new butterfly on. I have this all for Paws butterfly refill, which will work with the toy. And this is a popular toy with Mayhem. When you put the batteries in, they last for 8 hours maybe, overnight usually anyway. And I use rechargeable batteries. So they just have a little clip, and oops. So, but it does actually spin around. You see I've my platform here, I've made a cutout so you can access the battery compartment. And the batteries pop out. As I mentioned, I'm using rechargeable batteries because it'd be very expensive otherwise. Okay. So as you can see, that's a very popular toy. She doesn't really chase it around anymore, but she'll bat at it like that, and she'll bat at it even when it's not running. So we've got a couple other interactive toys. This is the... Quit knocking the camera over. So this is the Yofun rotating ball. See, I've added another aftermarket accessory to it. Little piece of ribbon. Make it a little more interesting. You charge it up with a USB and press the button, and it rolls around at random intervals. It doesn't work great on the carpet, but it will move around. And it's not all that interesting. I mean, she'll look at it. She won't necessarily really play with it. But it goes for quite a while. Usually gets stuck someplace in a corner even though it's not supposed to. But it does. So we've got a similar toy here. Works better on the carpet. And it does have a little feathery thing which she will play with. This is an interactive robotic cat toy. And again, you charge it with USB. And this has a couple modes. She doesn't really care too much for the movement, I guess, but she does play with the feathers some. But you can see that moves around at random locations. It is also kind of nice because it'll shut off after a while, and then after another while it'll start up again. So in theory, once the cat gets bored, it'll turn off, and then it'll start up again. It's like, oh, there's something to play with. It's not super fun, but she does like it, playing with the feathers. Oops. There are a couple modes. I had it on the low. This is double pressing, gets it to the high. And you see the, which makes it work better on the carpet. But you see that the feathers come off fairly easily. Chew those feathers up. Ah! And you can turn it off if you want. I don't know if there's a way of getting that on better or not. Let's see. So the next toy we have is the PetZone Mousehunter Play-N-Squeak. And it's an interesting toy. Makes a squeaking sound when it's shook. So I've got a couple. That one's a little more. That's a newer one. The other one is more worn out. But it's been a year and a half, just about. And she does like playing with that. We've got some, well, we've got Muttley, apparently from the Scoob movie. She'll play with it a little bit, not too much. Got some random mouse. We've got practice golf ball. She likes batting that around the house. And ping pong balls. And just some random toys. She's never really played with that. Something that my mother made for my first cats. And they played with it a little more than she does, but let's see. Well, one other thing I wanted to show was the Veken water dispenser, and that works pretty good. I currently have it off because I had E. coli in the water last fall, and it took a lot of water to clean it out. You know, every week or so I'd wash it out and rinse off any slime that had accumulated on the sides. And I was getting all my water from elsewhere while I was dealing with the E. coli. So I just took it down and just used a regular water dish. But I'll have to put that back at some point. You know, it fills up, it sprays out. Kind of neat. The other thing I'm using, there's a USB plug that came with it, which I'm actually using for something else. So I may have to buy a new one of that. Got a few toys here, mostly handmade. An A-frame that I made for my first cats out of some old carpeting, plywood, and piece of 2x4. And when the cats were kittens, they played with it. She'll run through it sometimes, mostly when I'm playing with her. There's a Crinkle tunnel. I forget the name of it right now, but I'll have it in the description below. It turned out a little smaller than I thought it was going to be, and she hasn't really shown much interest in it by herself. You know, if I'm playing with her, she'll come along and I'll throw things through the tubes and she'll chase after them. This is a box that I made, and it's got several entrances. She hasn't really played with it by herself. She did get a chipmunk caught and trapped inside of this box, and she was chasing it, which was fun for her, not so much for the chipmunk. But I don't know, I had some plans for it to make it into a castle at some point, but I haven't really done too much with it. And then I've made a handmade scratching post, which she does play with quite a bit. It's got a piece of packing tape here and a packing strap. But she'll jump up on it like that. Play with the strap. And there's one last toy. It's a little mouse. It's attached to, originally this was an elastic string, but because the elastic is worn out. I bought it quite a while ago. And it's just got something that attaches to a door frame. And she will play with this mostly when I'm playing with her, but sometimes she'll run into it and then start playing with it. I did find one that looks similar called the PetZone. Oh, no, wait a minute. It's the... Well, it'll be down in the description. I found one that's similar to that, but it squeaks is like the other one, the Mousehunter Squeak. And lastly, I have a cabinet which is usually locked like that, so she can't get in. But I have a variety of wands. So one is a Feline Flyer, which I purchased from Doctors Foster and Smith a long, long time ago. They're now owned by PetZone, or no, excuse me, Petco. They're now owned by Petco. And there's a product called the Feline Flyer. In quotes. But it looks essentially the same. It's got a little clip on here and a swivel, which makes it make a whirring sound, which cats don't really seem to like. When it's flying around, but if you're going along on the ground, they'll definitely chase it. We got a couple other wands, as I mentioned, which they've gotten all tangled up. This one is the EcoCity Cat Wand. And this, again, has a swivel. It's got a little bell on it as well as the feathers. Doesn't spin around and make a whirring sound, but it does have a little bell. And it detaches and clips together. I don't remember the name of this one. Something that I bought a long time ago. Might have been another Feline Flyer. And it's got a fish clip, you know, for fishing stuff as well as swivel. And it just has, I just had this other toy that's all batted up. Looks kind of like a mouse. It's got rattly bits in it. So I attached it onto there. And then my last wand is a broken off fishing pole with just a little feather thing. Which you can swing around. So I think that's it for the toys. I think we'll do a little more wand play. trip it.
You got it. There you go. You got it.